It's Christmas Eve, 1945. Small town in America, Fayetteville, West Virginia. The war has just ended. Families are finally breathing again, and inside a modest two-story home, the Sodder family is asleep. Chapter 1. The night everything changed. Around 1 a.m., a fire breaks out in the Sodder home. George and Jenny wake up to smoke. Chaos erupts. Flames are spreading fast. George, Jenny, and 4 of the children manage to escape, but 5 children are still upstairs. Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny, Betty. George tries to rush back inside to save them, but the staircase is already engulfed in flames, so he runs outside. There's a ladder he always keeps against the house. It's gone. Not misplaced. Gone. Panicked, he decides to use one of his coal trucks. He plans to drive it up to the house and climb onto the roof. Neither truck starts. Both were working the day before. Now, dead. Completely. Chapter 2. A delayed response that makes no sense. One of the children who escaped runs to a neighbor's house to call the fire department. No answer. Another neighbor tries. Still nothing. Finally, someone drives into town and physically finds the fire chief. The fire station is only 2.5 miles away. They don't arrive until 8 a.m., 7 hours later. By then, the house is nothing but ash. 7 hours. On a house fire, 2.5 miles away. That's not slow, that's suspicious. Chapter 3. No bodies, no bones, nothing. When firefighters search the remains, they find no bodies, no skull fragments, no bones, no remains. The official explanation? The fire was so hot it completely cremated the children. But here's the problem. Even in crematoriums burning at 2,000 degrees for hours, bones don't just disappear. They fragment, but they remain. The Sodder house burned for about 45 minutes, and there was no reported smell of burning flesh. Household appliances were still recognizable in the rubble, yet 5 human bodies supposedly turned to nothing? That doesn't sit right. Chapter 4. The fire was blamed on faulty wiring. The cause of the fire was ruled electrical, but George had just had the wiring inspected earlier that year. It was declared safe. And here's something even stranger. About 30 minutes before the fire, the phone rang. Jenny answered it. She later said the lights downstairs were still on when she went back to bed. If faulty wiring caused the fire, power should have failed immediately. But the lights were on, even as smoke began filling the house. Chapter 5. The loud bang. Before the flames erupted, Jenny heard something else. A loud bang on the roof, then the sound of something rolling. Later, one of the surviving children found a hard rubber object in the yard. George believed it resembled a pineapple bomb, similar to wartime incendiary devices. Was the fire set intentionally? Because now things start getting real uncomfortable. Chapter 6. George had enemies. George Sodder was an Italian immigrant, and he was very outspoken about his hatred of Mussolini. In a small Italian immigrant community, that made him controversial. Some arguments got heated. Then, just months before the fire, a life insurance salesman came to the house. When George refused to buy a policy, the man snapped. He reportedly yelled, "Your house is going to go up in smoke, and your children are going to be destroyed." Let that sink in. After the fire, that same man was on the coroner's jury that ruled the deaths accidental. How does that even happen? Chapter 7. Witnesses claimed the children were alive. Now, this is where it gets even more unsettling. A woman claimed she saw the children the night of the fire, in a car driving away while the house was burning. Another woman, about 50 miles away, said she served 5 children breakfast the next morning. They were with 2 men and 2 women, Italian. One woman in Charleston said she saw 4 of the children a week later at a hotel. She tried speaking to them. One of the men got hostile and shut down the conversation. Why would someone prevent children from speaking? Chapter 8. The fire chief's heart. 2 years later, George hires a private investigator named C.C. Tinsley. Tinsley uncovers something bizarre. Rumors spread that the fire chief claimed he found a human heart in the ashes and buried it in a box at the site. When investigators dig it up, it's not a heart, it's beef liver, and it had never been burned. The fire chief later said he planted it to give the family closure. That's not closure, that's manipulation. Chapter 9. The Smithsonian Bones. In 1949, the Sodders dig up the site again. A pathologist finds bone fragments, 4 pieces of human vertebrae. They're sent to the Smithsonian. The conclusion: the bones belonged to someone 16 to 17 years old. The oldest missing child was 14, and the bones showed no signs of fire damage. The Smithsonian suggested the bones likely came from dirt used to fill the basement. Then, the bones were returned, and eventually disappeared. Gone. Chapter 10. The billboard that wouldn't come down. The case was officially closed by the governor in 1947. He called further searching hopeless. George and Jenny didn't accept that. They put up a massive billboard along Route 16 with photos of their 5 missing children. It stayed up for nearly 40 years. 40. They offered a reward. They chased down every lead. Italy, Florida, St. Louis, every single tip. Nothing confirmed. Chapter 11. The 1968 photograph. Then, in 1968, 23 years later, Jenny receives a photo in the mail. No return address, postmarked in Kentucky. It shows a man in his mid-20s, on the back handwritten, Louis Sodder. I love Brother Frankie, E-Lil Boys, a 90132 or 35. The final years. George died in 1969. Jenny passed away in 1989. Their daughter Sylvia, who was 2 years old at the time of the fire, still believes her siblings survived. The family never stopped searching, never stopped believing. And to this day, no definitive evidence proves the children died in that fire. No bodies, no DNA, no closure. So what really happened? Was this a tragic electrical fire, or was it something darker? A planned abduction disguised as disaster? A warning turned into action? 5 children vanish on Christmas Eve, 7-hour fire response, no remains, threats beforehand, witness sightings after, a planted heart, a missing detective. If that doesn't raise red flags, I don't know what does. And nearly 80 years later, one question still hangs in the air. What really happened to the Sodder children? And if they didn't die that night, where did they go? If you believe they were taken, comment kidnapped. If you believe they died in the fire, comment fire. And if you think there's something even bigger going on, I want to hear your theory. This is States of Mystery. Hidden. Unsolved. American. I'll see you in the next one.